you knew Trap, our mutual friend Sam,
Yep.
at Bucknell, right?
Yeah.
So what was he like at Bucknell? Because like,
He was honestly, dude, he was like pretty quiet, like
okay,
quiet, reserved, just a good dude. Yeah.
oh, I mean he's the best. But like, so so I met Sam when he came to Morgantown, and
Yep.
like didn't know anything about him. They were just like, hey, like this new dude's like gonna come and kick. Like he was a transfer from Bucknell. We're like, okay, what? Like all right, like we'll see how it goes, dude. I like right off the bat, like me, Sam, and then like my two other buddies, like we just hit it off, and we have been friends ever since. And like he
It's
is
incredible.
the best.
One of the nicest dudes.
Oh my god, he's the best. I mean, like I said, he's the man. Like I'm like, so we're going to play Pittsburgh this weekend. We're playing Steelers, and like I haven't seen Sam now just because of life and stuff gets in the way. But I haven't seen him in maybe about a year. But like I am so excited to see Trap. Like it's gonna be great.
Are you guys going out after the game, or are you guys pretty strict?
Yeah, we're pretty strict. We got to leave right afterwards, but he'll come.
You'll get to see him.
Yeah, I'll get to see him. He'll come say hi after the game and stuff, and that'll be good. But no, I wish we were able to go. Go to the South Side or something after the game. But
yeah, nah, I feel that for sure. Where are you originally from?
So I'm from
Philly area.
I'm from Cleveland.
That's right. No, I did know that.
Yeah.
Dumb Colin. I have that in my notes actually.
Yeah.
So
little town west of Cleveland called Bay Village. Been here since I
grew up a Browns fan, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So
well, I'm gonna be honest. I hate the Steelers, so I hope you guys beat the Steelers by 1,000.
There we go.
So, a couple like recording things. Like if you're blurry or if I'm blurry, or even if you freeze, keep talking.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I can hear you. And the reason I use this platform is it records from your camera. So like you're going to be clear no matter what.
Gotcha.
And I'll be clear no matter what. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
But talk to me a little bit about the bare feet in the snow. What are we doing here?
So it wasn't snowing yet. So my dad is Japanese, but he's from Hawaii. And so he, like, when we were growing up, like, we didn't really wear, we wore shoes, but, like, if we weren't, like, playing on, like, concrete or something, if we were just, like, in the grass, like, we were just not in shoes. And then also, like, that was the start of it. And then I also, when I was playing for the Dolphins, I got the chance to be around Mack Hollins a lot.
That was going to be my next question. Is this a Mack Hollins thing?
Yeah. So Matt, like, I used to fish a lot with Matt when we were living in Miami, and he would talk to me about like the whole barefoot thing. And I was like, oh, like that kind of sounds a little bit like, why my dad doesn't wear shoes. Like my dad wears sandals a lot. Slippers in Hawaii, but like, it's very thin, very like, it's not a lot of padding and cushion and stuff. And I think that has something to do with like people's feet getting weaker and then, rolling ankles and stuff like that because there's so much padding on shoes. So I try to not wear like, whether it's slippers, like I don't wear, if I'm going out or if I'm, obviously playing or working out or something like that, and I need to wear something, I'll wear them. But if I don't have to, like I try to have as little, cushion on my shoes as possible. And, plus I just like walking around bare feet before the game just because it's, I do think that the grounding thing is real. And I think, you get some type of energy from that. And I just, honestly too, I just like the way it feels. So it's a little bit of both things.
Is this something that you believed in before Mac and he amplified it? Or is it when you met Mac, it really took off?
So I believed it before Mac. But I didn't understand why. But him talking about the cushion of the shoe, and then after that type of stuff, I've learned more about it. And there's a lot of people that like talk about like the 0 drop shoes and just having like that small amount of cushion like before the ground. And so now it's like a bigger thing to where like I like I said, I try not to wear super cushiony shoes. I mean, I will admit I do have a pair of Hokas, but like, and they're super comfortable.
I'm wearing Hokas right now, so great. It's a great.
Oh, they're so
it's a great,
comfortable, but like, I try
great
not to
choice.
wear those if like for like long periods of time, you know. And if I am wearing those, I switch right back into my slippers, and then we're good to go doing that.
Now, is this like an anti-sock thing too? Like, do you actually feel the need to feel it against the skin on your feet, or would you wear socks as well?
I'm I'm not anti-sock, but I think like just having your foot on the ground is what, is where it needs to be.
It's funny because I've been seeing on my Twitter feed this type of grounding effect come up more in terms of conversation, the science community. I follow a lot of the science community, and I see both sides where people say this is not scientific provable. And then the other side's like, no, it is scientifically provable. How deep are you into like the science of it? Or is it more of you just feel that innate benefit of it?
So I get both sides of it. Like for me, it's one of those things where like, if it is a placebo, okay, cool. Like sometimes placebos work. And if you think it works,
Placebo is one hell of a drug, I'll tell you.
like if you think it works, then it works, and that's great. But for me, it's like the thing I do really believe in is like if your feet are weaker, and there are muscles in your foot, and there's a lot of different things that you want to try to do with your feet and your ankles that you're going to be more prone to rolling an ankle, and then if you roll an ankle, then you're more prone to stuffing your knees and your hips, and everything is connected in that way. So that's where I kind of am trying to have my feet be as strong as possible, because that's where everything starts.
Is there a temperature where you won't do this?
I didn't. So I really started doing it when I was in the XFL. So like 2 or 3 years ago. And the thing about that is like everywhere we play is either indoors or it was a spring league, so it was nice out. So I've never really had to go through the whole like winter of doing this. But I don't know. I'll probably do it because I just like when I do it, I walk around the field. I sit at the goalpost, call my people, and then I go back inside. So I'm really out there for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most. And I don't know. I probably wouldn't. There's probably not a temperature I wouldn't do it at, because you don't really play in like super, super, super cold.
It's funny because when I saw it, I thought it was like a mental toughness type thing. Like people come out warming up without shirts on and things. So
no, believe me, I'm sure you've seen that picture where it's like I'm wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Like that's not.
Yeah.
I want to be warm, but like I do believe in like just grounding and stuff like that. So no, it was not a mental toughness thing.
Do you have a pregame routine that you typically go through?
Yeah, for the most part, like I said, so I'll normally like go, whether it's I'll go on the first bus to the stadium, and then the first thing I do when I get there is I'll change into my gear, and then I'll just walk, like, go walk on the field, walk around the outside, just kind of like take in the sights and the sounds and everything, and just kind of like, lock in that way. And then I'll go and sit at the goalpost, call my family, call my girlfriend, call my people, and then just sit. Then after that, I'll like turn my music off. I'll keep my headphones on, and then I'll just visualize like the different things that I'm thinking are going to happen. So if it's a certain type of rush that the other punt return team is going to run, I'll visualize, at different parts of the field, like that type of thing. Visualize the field goal snaps and just visualize like perfect stuff. Visualize, just a lot of. So I sit there and just try to visualize the whole game to where it's like, okay, if it's this down in distance or if it's this time in the game, this is how I'm going to go out there. This is how it's going to feel. This is how it's going to look on the back end. This is where those people are going to be. And I just try to, and that's probably 5-10 minutes of me just, sitting there thinking and like mapping it out. And then I'll go back inside. I'll have peanut butter and jelly and ready to go.
How'd you get to this routine? Was it trial and error? Did someone point you to it?
So it was a lot of trial and error because like before I would like get to the stadium as quick as I could and start like snapping right away just because I wanted, whatever, if I was nervous, just wanted to get that out, or I don't really know what it was. But kind of the older that I got, like the more things like you have to just like, I just want to, if I can see it, I can do it, and I just wanted to, like, the more I see it. So like, even if it's like watching a little bit more film, like if I get to the locker room like a little bit earlier before I go out, like I'll watch a little bit of film or just read my notes one more time just to get that type of stuff together. That's really, really helped. And, like I said, it's been a lot of trial and error of it, just getting older and, doing this more. Because, even in the XFL, like I would try different things and stuff like that. But I really like this routine that I have going right now for these past 7 weeks.
I'm very similar, super visual. If I can see it, I can do it. And like a distinct memory that I have is like at Bucknell, we ran a very similar defense to the Michigan State defense when Pat Narduzzi was there. Ultimately pretty cool. I ended up playing with him or for him. But Darqueze Dennard, Trey Waynes. Okay. Those were the two corners on that Michigan State defense. Both were first round picks. We watched so much of their film, and before the spring game, my freshman year, going into my sophomore year, I just like watched their film over and over again. And then when I went out and played, it was spring game. I had 3 interceptions, 2 pick sixes, like just went crazy. But like I targeted specifically because I watched their film. We ran the same play call and I got the same routes, like just out of coincidence. But because I saw it and repeated it, like I was able to then go out and do it. And that was when I really first learned how visual I was. Was there like a point where you learned that you were visual, or did it just happen over time?
I think it was really like this year where it was like, okay, I can't just go out there and just like kind of do it. Like I have to watch it and I have to, you have to see it, and you have to see it a lot of times, because then the more you see it, like everyone has their tells. Everyone has, they might be disguising doing something, but they're really trying to set this up, or there's a little bit of space here, or his feet are this way, or, so that was kind of, I knew I was visual, like I was better when I saw it, but like this year was really when I like honed into doing that. And I think it's helped so much.
How rigid is your pregame routine? Because I think sometimes we can get trapped in our routines to the point where if we can't hit our routine, we can't function. So I think there's a balance between rigid, I don't know the word, sorry guys, and flexibility. So it's like, where do you fall on that?
I'm probably more on the side of like, it's, like it is like I go and I do this, and then I come inside and I stretch, and then if it's like, maybe I'll get maybe there's like some variance to it, but for the most part it's like I roll out the same, I band stretch the same way, I do the same like T-spine stuff, I do the same shoulder mobility stuff, and then like I've added some things in. I don't really take stuff out if I like it, but for the most part it's been the same for a lot of times. And it's like, I don't know, I think maybe just because like it's better for me to be a creature of habit that way. But I don't know, I've never not done it one way. So it's I've had the same kind of routine that way since college, because we always warmed up the same way in college. And then I just took that to wherever I went. And
are you superstitious at all?
Very.
Tell me more.
So like I sit in the same place, like so my teammate in the XFL, Brad Wing, was like, he was the first one that kind of like noticed it. But like I sit in the same place on the bench. I stand up after the defense gets the stop. Like if I'm standing up and defense doesn't get a stop, like I think it's my fault because I wasn't sitting down. Like, it was like I am that way, but like I also don't like to say things and then I'm like, oh shoot, I jinxed it. Just I don't know why I am that way, but I am. Like I knock on wood all the time. If you spill salt, throw it over the left shoulder. Like, gotta. I don't know. Maybe that's just protect. Like I just gotta. If there's already a lot of stuff out there that's gonna hurt you, you might as well just have a little luck on your side.
How do you manage that with the nature of your position being a long snapper, kind of needing everything to go perfect? How do you balance that superstition with that?
Shit, I don't know. It's just kind of been the way that I've done it. It's, I have been very blessed and lucky to been, been doing well at my position. And, it wasn't super, easy to get to that. And I don't know. It's been one of those things where it's just, once the game, once the flow of the game starts going, like it just works. And so why change it if it works,
I don't think people really understand how difficult it is to be a long or short snapper and how meticulous the details are. What is your off-season routine like? How frequently are you snapping the ball? And if you were to guess, how many snaps do you think you've taken over the course of your life?
Of my life, I don't know, way more than. But we used to snap so much in college. Like, ask Trap about it. We would snap for probably 4 hours straight. It was a long time. Like after practice, 4, like it was a lot. I would say over my life, 50,000, and that might be on the low end. Maybe more, maybe closer to 100. I have no idea. Like, but it's a lot. But it's hard, but it's like, it's so fun. Like there are a lot of things like, I mean, you played, like there's a lot of misconceptions about like specialists where it's like, oh, they don't really do anything. They're just sitting in there, twiddling their thumbs. But like, there is a craft to it where it's like, everyone's got to be on the same page. Kicker's got to be on the same page as you. The holder's got to be on the same page as you. And then, at this level, we're matching laces and we're trying to make sure that, I'm trying to make sure the holder doesn't have to spin the ball on field goals. And, and then in the pros, like college was all you had to do was snap and run. In the pros now, we're talking about 8-man boxes, 7-man boxes, rolling corners, waves, loops, everything. Like it's, you really got to be detailed and take good notes and just really be on your shit. Because, like if you're not, that's a way to not have a job. And it's, it is it's something that like, you just have to not take for granted.
How difficult is it when you have to interchange between different positions, injuries, right? You have a new holder, you have a new kicker. How hard is it to reset that timing?
So it's not fun. It's not easy, but like just the more you do it. So like, I mean, for me, that was my situation this year. Like, the guy that was here, has been a staple on the Browns for as long as I can remember even being a fan. And him and the holder and the kicker, like they're on their stuff. And then, they got me this new guy coming in here who snap, like, I snap it differently than Charlie. I do a lot of different things. And so for them, I'm sure it was not hard, or I'm sure it was hard for them to like adjust to me. But, for me, it's like, I just got to snap a good ball and then just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Just so they know that there's no like difference in anything, and then they can adjust off of that.
How do you actually make changes? Because like you said, it's repetition over and over and over again. How do you analyze what you're doing well and what you need to improve on?
So on field goal, like it's field goal, it's like minuscule things because like I want the kicker to see the ball as long as he can. So I don't want to push the ball inside, but I also don't want to push it outside to where, you know, he thinks it's going to be long or it's just going to be outside and the holder's not going to get there. Like I don't want the kicker to have to worry about anything. Like I want it to just be right down the pipe, catch it, put it down, boom, we're going. On punt, it's a little different because, you know, like I said, there's blocking involved with it too. So, and then, you know, on blocking, it's, you know, it's like playing offensive line. Like you get beat. And, you know, you got to get your head up faster. You got to move a little quicker. You got to, you know, get your feet going because, I mean, it's chaos in there when everyone's moving around. But it's just work, like you said, it's just working and doing the same thing every day. And that's like, I had a coach in the XFL tell me that that's what like being a pro is making sure like even if you don't feel like it, like you have to do the same thing every single day. And, you know, being a young guy, like you were like, oh, okay, like whatever, like, you know, but like now that is like so true. Like you see the vets that have been there forever, like they do the same thing every day. They do the same recovery. They do the same pre-practice. They do the same thing post-practice. And it's like, oh, that's why they played 14 years in the league. It's because they have their routine down to a science. And it's not even a routine. It's just part of their life.
What keeps you disciplined like that?
I guess it's the fear of not wanting to, you know, lose a job. And it's, you know, but it's also like, it's the fear of that, but it's also like I love this. Like I love playing football. I love doing what I'm doing. So like, why would I not? Well, why would I not do like every single thing that I can? You know, it's not work. You know, people say, "Oh, you know, we gotta go to work." Like this isn't work. This is us playing a kid's game for money. Like we used to do this for fun. It's the best.
Your story's so fascinating because you go from two-sport athlete to then walking on at West Virginia to earning a scholarship to getting cut by, you know, the Steelers, the Dolphins, going to the XFL, UFL, and then finally at 28, you're the guy. What kept you going throughout all the ups and downs?
Honestly, it was that so no one could say that I didn't. Like it was, you know, I just didn't want to have anyone be like, oh yeah, like you almost made it. Like you almost did it. You was almost there, you know? So like, I hope I get to play for a lot longer, but you know, if it's a year, if it's the next 5 games, then that's it. Like I can look back on it and be like, okay, like I did it. I was, you know, I gave it everything I had. I did it. So, you know, if it puts me into the next phase of life where it's like, hey, like I can do whatever I put my mind to because it was hard. I mean, it was not easy. There were people being like, hey, like, why don't you just get a normal job? Like, why don't you just start coaching? You know, why don't you just, you know, do this, that, or the third? And it's like, well, no, because like this is the dream. This is what I want to do. And it's, you know, like I said, that was like what it was. I didn't want to look back in 30 years or come back to my hometown and have people be like, oh, like he almost did it. He almost made it. So I don't know. Maybe that's petty, but still am.
No, that's the part I love is the being able to respond to everybody that said, do this or do that, or, you know, why are you chasing this impossible dream? And you're like, no, like this is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part I love because that is the hard part where it's not only are you chasing something impossible, but it's everybody around you telling you you're crazy and telling you how impossible it is. And for some people, they hear that and they're like, you know what, you're right, I'm done. And then there's other people like yourself who's like, no, I'm going to dig my feet in deeper and I'm going to go.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that is innate to you versus was that taught to you, or where did that come from?
So it came a lot from from my parents, where it was like, you know, my mom was very supportive of it, and she always was like, okay, like, you know, you're gonna do this, you're gonna like. She always was very, very, very supportive of my dad the same way. Like, he would always say, like, if you're gonna do it, like, don't have like don't be half into it, like snap a little bit, do this, do that, like you do it. And so that was really great. And then also, like, I have like great friends, like I have, like Sam and my other three buddies from college, my brother, and then like my buddies from high school. Like, every time I would see them, they're like, oh, like, you know, why would you ever not? Like, we're working 9 to 5 jobs, we're doing this, this, and this. Like, why would you ever not do it? So I think like having a great support system helps. But then also, like, I've seen like I see my brother was playing basketball, and like I didn't, and I was like, oh man, he just looked like he's still in college, or he was in college. He's out now, but like seeing him play, I was like, I miss that. Like, being part of a team, like doing all that stuff where it's like you just want to be back doing that. So seeing him do it all the time, like my dad is a coach, was the volleyball coach at West Virginia. So like he always got to be like he was always doing stuff, and like they were just busy being a part of the team. So it's like, okay, well, like that was the one thing that I always felt like I was missing, on those couple of years where I wasn't. And so, seeing it, and then also it being taught to me by my parents, like I think it was a little bit of both.
What enabled you to maintain belief in yourself when things weren't going your way?
Well, I mean, it was hard. It was hard because, like, it's because you were on teams before, right? Like,
yes, I was with the Bills for 4 days and got cut. That's my famous story.
Okay, I mean, so same with me in my first stint in Miami. Was there for 2 days. I got cut.
Yeah.
Like, it, and that is like the worst feeling in the world. Is you're like, oh my God, I've made it. I'm gonna, like, now we're good. I can take care of people. Everything's gonna be fine. Like, people are texting you, telling you how great you are. Everything's great. And then, like, the next day you're back home, and it's like, well, whoa, what happened? It's like, you're going to the supermarket, and everyone's like, well, I thought you were here. I thought you were here. I thought you were here. And that was like that was the worst thing. Like, when it was probably the worst when I got released from Miami the last time. It was like after, like, right before training, like right before the first preseason game in like 2021 or 22. I forget what the year was. So, like, I came home and like didn't want to leave my house. I was like, I don't want to see people. I don't even want to see my friends. Like, I was just like, and that was like probably the lowest, where I was like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I can't do it. But like I said, you got to have a great support system where it's like, some people are going to say like, oh, why are you doing this? And then, you got to listen to the people that are like, sometimes you got to listen to the people that feed the crazy delusional dream, where it's like, hey, like, come on, I'll catch saps for you. Like, let's go work out. Let's go do this. Let's go do this. And that was what kept me going. And that was like because that's what got me through like those darker days where, then that happens. Then I have, 5 or 6 workouts that next year, don't get signed, but, that's fine. Your name's in the wire. Go to the XFL, play great, go to Pittsburgh, have a great preseason. Doesn't work out there, which is fine. Go back to the XFL, have another great year, couple more workouts in the off season, and then boom, here I am now going on my 8th week with the Browns. And it's cliche, but like, it's the journey, and I really wouldn't have it any other way.
It's when you're in those like dark moments, it's the voice in your head that doubt that creeps in, that tells you maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. Right? I got cut after 2 days, 4 days, whatever it is. How do I have a chance? And it's learning how to communicate with yourself. It's learning how to talk through that and have that support system, and how important that support system can be. I don't think it can be stated enough, really, how you need people in your corner, and you have to learn how to communicate through that doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of the day, with the people like yourself who make it and the ones who don't, is there really isn't an option to quit. Even when you're in those low periods or it's not going your way or the extreme self-doubt, it's the little voice in the back of your head that's still saying, but, well, I'm not going to quit.
Right.
I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do the next step. And sometimes it takes a little bit for that voice to come back where it's like, I'm not going to quit. But eventually it does. And then you go and you get it rolling.
Yeah.
How do you maintain that perspective now with things kind of going your way?
I don't know where it is right now, but I kept a letter from the Dolphins. And like, do you remember what that like when they cut you and there's like 3 options where it's like, you got hurt, or you were like overweight, or like, oh, you just weren't, like, it literally just says like conduct, like insufficient, whatever it is. So I kept that. I've kept every one of those from when I've been cut. And so like, I'll just periodically look at that and be like, okay, like I do not want to ever see one of these again. And the life of a specialist probably will at some point. Like, I know that we go all these different places, and it's, just the business of our position. But like, I look at those and I'm like, okay, I never want to see that again. And that's the one thing where it's like, that can happen. Like, you can be on cloud 9 one day, and the next thing you know, you're getting that letter at your parents' house, and it's like, here we are again. So like, you just never, like, that's the way I kind of keep myself grounded a bit, to where it's like, okay, like, let me not even think about what else is going on. Like, I can be here, I can be doing well, but like, got to keep the blinders on and just keep going, because that letter is right around the corner if you don't.
How do you block out distractions?
Oh, it's hard, especially like, being from the town you play in. That's a hard thing, because like, everyone wants to ask what's going on. But for me, it's just, I just try to keep, doing my thing. Like, if I'm doing my job, I don't have time to entertain the distractions that happen. So as long as I just try to stay as busy as possible. And if I don't, maybe that's not right, maybe that's not, I relax when I'm home. I relax when on my off days. That's great. But it's, whether it's just studying film or just hanging out, like, just being at the facility, it's, if you're where you're supposed to be, like, there are no distractions in that way. So that's kind of what I try to do.
How different is it from locker room to locker room in the NFL?
I try to talk to everybody. So like, I don't
That's such a specialist thing, though. It's funny. When I was training to play, Terrell Pryor is someone who I trained with all the time, and he would tell me, any organization you get into, he's like, go to the kicker, go to the long snapper, go to the punter. Those are the first people you talk to in every organization. And it's so funny every time I talk to a specialist, and they're just like, yeah, I try and talk to everybody. What is it about you specialists that you guys are just so friendly?
I think it's just because we have such a small group. Like, our group is only 3 people. Like, maybe there's I've always been that extra guy in the group, on the practice squad or whatever, like, just there for camp. But like, there's really just 3 or 4 of you at the most. So like, you got to go and you got to talk to people, or you're just going to end up talking to the same people for the whole time. And but I think, I don't know, we just try to, I don't know, I just try to talk to as many people as I can, but that's kind of how I am anyways. I mean, I'm sure Sam would tell you, I'd talk to a brick wall if I could. Like, it's just the way I am.
How seriously do you take yourself? Like, are you serious all the time, or are you goofy most of the time?
I goofy for the most part. I don't like, I think I take myself, like, I take my job seriously. I take my craft seriously, and I understand the magnitude of what I do. Like, so, like, during a game, during stuff, like, when it's time to go, it's time to go. But, like, other than that, I try to be as loose as possible. I try.
How do you flip that switch to lock in?
What is that?
How do you flip that switch to lock in?
I just remember where I am. Like, you got to remember where you are. And for me, it's like, so like for me, it's you look like when I'm like, okay, like I got to go, like I'll look up and be like, oh, like you just remember where you like the whole being where your feet are. You kind of just like lock, like you remember, you're like, oh, like I'm at practice with the Cleveland Browns right now. Like okay, let's lock this back in. Or you look up and you're like, oh crap, like, okay, like, I'm at Mile High Stadium. Like, some great people have played here. Like, I gotta lock this back in. And then and then it all just kind of comes back, and then you're good to go.
What I love about athletics, football in particular, I think more so than any other sport, is when you're a competitor, you're a totally different person on the field than you are off the field. And I think that's a hard thing for people or fans in general to understand, is like that competitive nature, the seriousness of the job, and just that competitive energy that just comes out. Some people, there's like a physical switch. They have to do things. Other people like yourself, which I love, is like that be where your feet are, recognize where I'm at, put myself in the moment. And then some people, it's just an emotional, internal sense of emotion that just comes out of your body. And it's different for everyone. And I get different answers every time I ask. And it's such a cool part about athletics.
Yeah. I mean, there were guys, like, I'm sure you've seen this video on social media. Like, I had a teammate in college who literally had to beat his head in with his helmet to like lock himself in.
Yep.
It was, but the thing is, not like, if you were like, okay, this dude is a crazy person, the nicest, like one of my best friends and the nicest guy you've ever met, like talking to, he's great. But then you have other guys that just like, they kind of just sit there and they meditate for a little bit, and then they go out there and then they just like take someone's head off. And it's like, well, where was that? Like, where did that come from? It's wild. It's one of the funnier things, or not funny, but like you said, it's like the most interesting thing ever about football, because it's so violent and it's so many different walks of life that come in and play this game, and it's crazy.
And I know this is fresh, but the Aziz hit, like on Trevor Lawrence, anyone you talk to in that Texans organization, nicest human.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Just unbelievable guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he wasn't trying to hurt Trevor Lawrence. Like, the hit was clearly not okay, but like, it's a different element of your personality that comes out in the game.
Right. It is such a violent game that you have to be violent doing it, or you're going to get hurt. Like, it is.
That's exactly right. Or you're going to get hurt.
Yeah. It is just it's a crazy, crazy thing. I don't know. I mean, you just never know. You never know some of those guys. I mean, yeah, I've never met Aziz before, but like you said, I mean, reading on Twitter, everything, nicest guy. Yeah, you never know.
It's just the game, man.
Crazy.
What separates you from other long snappers? Why are you one of 32 people in the world?
So honestly, man, like I think I'm just really blessed to be there. Like, I work my ass off. I come in every day with the mindset of trying to get better. And I think that, and when I was younger, I hated hearing like, oh, you just got to show up and keep doing it, and it'll all work out. Because like, you and I both know that just is not the case sometimes. Like, you can do all of the right things and you can be a great human, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And I think that like like I said, I'm just really blessed that it has worked out, and I've done it the right way. I've done it the hard way. I went to, camps, workouts, everything. Finally got in. Finally got the ability to play, get some film in the XFL. Doesn't work out at other places. Go back to the XFL, keep doing it the same way, and then finally get my opportunity. And I think that maybe just the determination is what, because there are, like, and I always tell the story, like the guy that was, and I'm not saying like Nick had a different path, but like the guy who was ahead of me at West Virginia was the best long snapper I've ever seen. The dude was unbelievable, but the XFL didn't exist back then. If he would have played a year in the XFL, he'd be playing right now. But now he's a strength coach, and he's going to have a head job here in the next however many years, and he's going to, he's going to mold the next generation of athletes forever. And but I think and he's the one who really taught me how to work. So I really thank Nick for that. But that was where I'm like, okay, I just got to keep showing up. And I think that's kind of what puts me apart of than a lot of guys.
How much gratitude do you have on a day-to-day basis?
You have to. I have to have a lot. I have to have a lot of gratitude especially for me, where it's like there are a lot of people that have helped, a lot of people that have done right by me, and can't. You have to pay that back. And it's not a monetary thing. It's not something else. It's just like you have to be grateful to those people or to whatever it is, because like it is like when I see people that are like genuinely grateful for like, or even when I'm showing gratitude that way, it is such a better feeling than anything that you could receive. So like I try to make sure that I am that way, because I know how great, like I know it's a great feeling. So you have to show that to whoever it is or whatever it is that has helped you along the way.
Do you have a process for dealing with failure?
Sure. I mean, yeah, like it used to not be as good as it is now. To where, like I said, like it used to be like, okay, hold up for a couple of days, like wallow in your own self-pity, and then finally get back on the horse. But now it's like, I can't control that. And now it's like, okay, I get ripped in practice because I've screwed up. Okay, like it's your fault. You were the one that screwed up. Why did you screw up? Go watch it and then work on why. So like, okay, I didn't get my head up fast enough. Okay, let's go and work on doing that. Okay, I didn't, my feet weren't quick enough. Okay, let's get on the ladders. Okay, let's, there's that balance of like, okay, like lick your wounds a little bit, but we got to go. Like we can't just sit here and focus on the negatives of it, or we won't, you'll never find the bottom of that negativity. And it's, for me, like I've tried, it's, you can't. And it's a lot, you feel a lot better too. Like when you find, like when you're working towards why you fail. And I think that's been what's helped me a lot.
What's really hard is, I don't care who you are, if you fail, it sucks.
It's the worst.
Like it's brutal. And you think about tennis players losing it in a Wimbledon final. That sucks. Like there's there's maybe not a lesson learned. It's that person was better than me today. I could overanalyze everything, but at the end of the day, it's like, I know I'll never get back here unless I just get back to work and get back to focusing on what's next. That transition is really hard and different for everybody. And at different periods of life, you learn how to, hate the word cope, but cope with it differently. People see athletes move on, and it's not that it's easy, it's that it's necessary. And learning how to do that is just so challenging.
It's like, it's one of those things that you don't even like understand. Like it until it happens, you don't even like, you know, because you're sitting there one day, yeah, this is great, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, just in the bottom. And you're like, holy crap. Like, how like this, you didn't even get a chance to like, you didn't even see it coming. Yeah, like you said, like it's a necessity, because if you don't, then the next opportunity might pass you by, and it just is, and that might even be worse.
The hard part is the acceptance, even pre-event. I think it innately, why we love competition so much is because we subconsciously know that there's a chance we may fail. Because if we knew we were going to win every time, to be honest, it probably wouldn't be as fun.
Right.
The problem becomes as athletes when we are too naive to the concept of failure. We have to understand it's there and not fixate on it. Like, there's a chance I'm going to miss this. There's a chance I'm going to lose. There's a chance I'm going to get cut, whatever it is. There's a chance of this going absolutely poorly. And I have to, in advance, prepare myself for that. But I'm not going to fixate on it. I'm going to deal with it if it comes here because I've, consciously prepared myself. And then I'm going to pour and focus my energy into everything that can and will go right.
Right.
So that way I'm not totally cut off guard, right? Like what you do, you have that letter. Like, you know what that's like. You have that reminder and you're like, I'm not going back there. But if I do, I know how to deal with it. And I'm going to focus everything into what's gone right.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, Steve said it perfectly. That's the only way. Because you can, if you focus on the failure of it, say, okay, well, then that's going to happen. Like, because the more you think about it, the more it's going to happen. It's that thing where you have to just work toward, think, like you said, think about it, have it in the back of your mind to be like, okay, this can happen. And if it does, this is how we deal with it. And then you got to go.
If you were to give advice to any young specialist right now, what is the number one thing that they can do? Or it doesn't even have to be young. Anyone who's trying to play professionally and that's their aspirations, what's the number one thing that they need to do as a specialist?
Don't judge your worth off of the other people, or like the other people in that position. Because like that was a big thing for me, where it was like when I came out, it seemed like the same 5 guys kept getting workouts, kept getting opportunities, kept going here, going there. And it was discouraging. But like, you just have to, like, don't think about that. You like, just keep doing your own thing. Like, stay in your lane and just go. Like, and if you want it, like, you have to be all in about it. Like, you can't just halfway do it. Like, train the same way you did in college. Train, like, work out, eat, do all the right stuff. Because, like, one of the worst things that ever happened to me was I went to Denver for a workout. And it was one of those things where, like, I hadn't snapped in a while, wasn't really training the right way. And I stepped on the scale and it was light. Like, way more light than I should have been. And like, I looked at I forget if it was a scout or a strength coach that was weighing me in, and he kind of like looked back at me like, well, what the fuck is this? And snapped well, but I didn't get signed. And like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, like, I can't have that happen again. So that, like, you can't base it off of the other people. And that's what I was doing, where I was like, okay, like I'm not going to get this call. It's going to be doing boom, boom, boom. These 4 people that are going to go. It's not going to be me. But then you get that call and you're not ready. And that was a painful 4-hour flight home. So it's, you just have to this guy, like another snapper, his name is Matt Overton. Like he kind of just like coined the phrase of like, stay ready in the specialist community. And like, that's the truth, because like especially in our position, I mean, you see it now. How many guys this year came right off the street and are now like banging game winners? It's crazy. Like, so if you're not that call could come at any moment, and you just have to be ready for it. So like, I was just say, like, don't judge yourself off of the other people that are, getting workouts or not getting workouts, and then just stay ready as best as you can, because you never know when it's coming.
How do you deal with that unknown piece? Because like you said, it may never come.
Exactly.
And it may come tomorrow.
It's hard. It definitely gets hard with like your loved ones, because like my girlfriend will always be trying to like plan something, and I'm like, well, I don't know. But she's like, well, you could. I'm like, I could, but on that very slight chance that it doesn't, like, that I can't, like, I don't want to tell you yes, and then like I can't. So like, even my best friend from high school, he's getting married in January. His bachelor party was on the weekend of his bachelor party started on like it was like Friday to Sunday. So I'm like, all excited to go, blah blah blah. That's when I got called by the Browns the first time. They're like, hey, we're gonna work you out on Thursday. And I'm like, oh shoot, like, all right, like, here we go. So then I go, and then I'm like thinking to myself, like, okay, like, let's just go balls to the wall here. Like, because if I get it, great. And if I don't, I won't have time to like be upset about it, because I'm gonna go be with my friends anyways. Get the call. They're like, hey, we're gonna sign you. So then I call my buddies, and they're like, oh, like, because like, and it's weird because they're like, obviously we're happy for you, like, because like, and they're all Browns fans too, so they're like, hell yeah, that's great. But then they're like, kind of like a day later, they're like, oh, wait a minute, like, that means we're not gonna see you. I'm like, yeah, that is. So it's just, it's a weird thing, but it's so much fun. It's like a lottery ticket waiting to happen. I mean, it's undeniable. It's weird, but it's cool. I don't.
No, it's when I got the call from the Buffalo Bills to come in, I missed my sister's wedding, and my mom was not even happy for me. Right. My mom just immediately starts crying, knowing I'm not going to be at my sister's wedding. I'm like, my stepdad too, again, not even happy. He's like, oh my gosh, your mother's going to be devastated, because I called him first. I was like, man, I can't get anyone to say congratulations. But then I call my sister, and my sister and her husband now were unbelievably understandable, and like, that's, awesome. You've been working your whole life for this. Right. But that's the part of it though too. Like, to your point, you will miss out on things. There will be things that are really, really important that you will miss. Mm-hmm. That's part of it.
Right. But like,
what else would you rather do?
Exactly. Where else? Like, that's what I always tell myself, where I'm like, oh, I'm missing this or I'm missing that. It's like, wait a minute. I'm not missing anything, because if I was there, all I'd be thinking about is doing this. So why would I even, it's a crazy feeling, but it's so worth
it. To me, it's the perspective of commitment versus sacrifice. I'm just committed to this. I'm all in. This is what I'm doing. This is what I love above everything else. So it doesn't really feel like sacrifice, even though it is sacrifice. I would rather do this. It's like, exactly. What TV show would I rather watch? Right? Like, I'm going to miss out on one to do the other, but I'm not thinking about the one I missed out on. Right? I'm thinking about the one I'm watching, the one I'm living. So just having that reframe, I think, is important for athletes who are like, I'm going to miss the party or the bachelor weekend or whatever. But it's like, but you get to do something that one of billions of people would be killing to do.
Exactly. And that's the one thing that I always think of, where you have to understand that, you know, everyone, like you know, maybe not everyone, but 90% of like the country, like when they were growing up, they're like, oh yeah, like I would love to do that at some point. So like that's what you're doing, and it is the best feeling ever.
I can't thank you enough for coming on today, Rex. If people want to reach out to you, they want to get after you, or if you have anything to promote, take the next time to tell us right now.
Oh yeah, I got you. So my best friend from high school makes like the coolest shirts ever. Name's Cole Kowchek. Pico's Picnic. I got like a ton of them. He's got a website. It's on his Instagram. Let me see if I can get that a little closer for you. Pico's Picnic, right there.
Beautiful.
But yeah, that's all I got to promote. He's been my best friend since I was a fourth grader. He's the man. Got a bunch of like cool different designs and stuff. He sells posters. Sells like all different types of clothing. So yeah, Pico's Picnic on Instagram. Go follow it.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Of course, Colin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. Download the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, check out our YouTube channel, check us out at athleticfortitude.com. 5 stars only, baby. See you guys next week.